Between the two of them.
The inside of coats.
Parker gets too heavily involved.
And that's Whitehead and Coates.
Hello everybody and welcome to VRRC. It's the start of a new season here in the Academy Championship. The drivers are switching out their MX-5s and jumping into Formula 4s, vastly different bits of kit, but they will definitely need to get up to grips very quickly because there are two races quickly approaching. I'm Ed May and join me in the commentary box for this evening yet again. As we've had him here last season, we'll have him here again. Dave Marshall, great to have you here. And well, this is going to be a great season, a great start to the season in cars that the drivers have been trying to get to grips with. We've been watching them in the practice sessions and we've seen some drivers starting to get very quick. Obviously, they'll know the circuit from last season, but it's all about getting to grips with their cars now.
Yeah, it is indeed. And you know what? Looking at the timing sheet, it is anyone's game tonight. Really, it is, Ed. You know, whole grid at the moment in pre-practice separated by less than 0.8 of a second. So it's going to be incredibly close tonight. Whether the slipstream's going to play any part, we'll wait and see.
Yeah, that's going to be a real question. You can see what happened last time out in the championship, round 6 of the MX-5 Cup. You can see Cadwell Park. Luke Weston took top honours ahead of Simon Reed and Brad Smith, who got driver of the round. And then, of course, that will then lead into what we will see in the overall championship standings. Simon Reed came out on top ahead of Andy Dorman. Andy Dorman, who only just came through to finish second in the championship ahead of third place Mick Sutton. 1 point the difference, 235 points to 234. Just shows there are fine margins. All of these drivers, especially these top three, evenly matched. But now in these Formula 3s, it's a different story. Really. You're certainly seeing certain drivers coming to grips with it very, very quickly. Look at this, the calendar on your screens now. In a week's time, we'll go to Silverstone, and then the show will carry on as it did last time out with meetings at Donington Park, Snetterton 300, Thruxton, and of course, season finale at Cadwell Park. Following the same format as it did last time in the MX-5s, you can see the array of cars that this Academy Championship will go through over the course of, well, into the next 6 weeks and the next 6 weeks and the next 6 weeks. Formula 4 first up, well, second up, following our trip down into the Mazda's MX-5s. Then I believe the next trip into a car is, I think, the Audi TT Cup. So we'll see the drivers getting involved in those bits of kit in 6 weeks. But for now, our focus will firmly be on these drivers here at Brands Hatch. Prizes on offer, of course. This is what they will be fighting for. First place getting new prize of AOC gaming headphones and 2 hours one-to-one online coaching. Second place gets Powermax car valeting and an hour of one-to-one online coaching. And then third place gets an hour of race car setup coaching and also one-to-one coaching. I believe all the coaching done by yourself, Dave Marshall. So all these drivers fighting for the opportunity to spend a little bit more time with you.
It is indeed. And you know what? From what we've had so far, some drivers really trying to jump the gun a bit and getting them online coaching sessions in prior to the championship starting. So if they win them, then obviously that's even more time they're going to get coaching in the car. But that's the whole idea of the academy. It's all about driver improvement and getting them up to speed as fast as it can possibly be and learning their new driving techniques to get them even more competitive and enter even more prestigious championships.
Yeah, definitely. So we've already had a look at last season's standings in the MX-5s. And now I think qualifying is, well, about to start if it hasn't already. So, Dave, shall we have a look at a hot lap of this Brands Hatch circuit in a new bit of kit?
This is not a test. Repeat, this is not a test. Stay tuned for further instructions. This is not a test.
Across the line here for round 1 of the Academy F4 Championship. down towards turn 1, into 4th gear. I'm just using that as a bit of a speed check for myself, so I don't have to look down the dash, I'm just dropping down a gear, and it actually gives you a really good drive up the hill. You can see brake just under the bridge into Druids, 2nd gear, get on the power super early to build that boost nice and early. 3rd gear for Graham Hill Bend, just getting on the power really smoothly there. If you run it too far wide, the car can get a little bit snappy. Quite a lot of curb here through the S's, and then towards last corner you'll see I'm not as shallow as usual, so down to 2nd gear, allowing the car to rotate but not as hard of an angle, and then open up the throttle and down towards the line. Make sure you tune in on Mondays from 7:15 on our VRRC platforms of Facebook and YouTube.
So that was our very own Dave Marshall talking us through and showing us through a lap of this Brands Hatch circuit in this brand new Dallara. I don't even know if it's a Dallara, actually a Formula 4 it's based off of, but it's a very good, very quick bit of kit. But you touched on it in the video there. It's not the easiest car to drive. You do need to be very gentle with it and make sure to get the brakes done nicely, because like we were saying before we came online, a lot of the drivers struggling on getting the car stopped or turning in.
Yeah, so it's the same as the MX-5. The only things that are adjustable in this setup are either tyre pressures or things you can change in the cockpit of the car. For example, brake bias, brake power, you know, ABS, traction control. So I'd have thought a lot of these drivers are not running traction control, so hence when the back end starts to step out, it's probably because they've got on the throttle and the back end started to go. All of them I would have thought of running ABS to basically make it so there's a reduced chance of a lock-up there. But that's still not to say these cars aren't incredibly hard to drive. They are very, very snappy once the car starts to go. And as you said, Ed, if you leave that braking a little bit late and you get too much rotation on the brakes as you turn in, then that's really where you end up in quite a lot of bother mid-corner. It's all about getting that braking done, getting the car nice and balanced on entry to the corner, and then you can really get on that throttle, because remember as well, something very different to the MX-5, all these cars are turbocharged, so the earlier you can get on the throttle and start to build that boost, the sooner they're going to get on the power, get that diff loaded up and drive down the straight. So really quite a lot of elements to try and get used to in this car over the MX-5.
Yeah, smooth throttle application on the way out of the corners is going to be key, isn't it? Like you said, no traction control, or there's unlikely to be much traction control being used by the drivers this evening, so they'll be trying to be nice and deft with their right foot on the loud pedal as we see drivers making their way through into turn 1. We can see current provisional pole sitter Luke Weston here, and he was actually a bit of a surprise in practice. We were looking at the times going through and we thought it would be a man in 2nd place in this qualifying session that was going to really be class of the field, but Luke Weston, he's starting to step up a bit and showing that he is a real force to be reckoned with. Well, there are other drivers, new drivers coming into the championship. One of them is down in 3rd place. Let's have a look at Akil Alibai, I believe is the way to pronounce that name. If not, sorry, Akil. Look at this, on board with the newcomer now. Let's make his way up through into the final corner. And Dave, this was the driver that we're talking has really impressed you.
Yeah, he has indeed. He's jumped on and got the grip so quickly with the car. Very fluent with the steering wheel. Real good commitment on entry speed. Oh, that's nice respect there from the driver pulling out the pits. Good awareness there. I believe, who was that? I believe that was, yes, Smith, sorry. So, yeah, really, really impressive to see Brad there. Just being aware of cars on the track, making sure he's given a nice clean line for the driver in the hot lap. So that's really good to see. But yeah, Akil, he's jumped in it straight away quick, good commitment, and you can see already fighting for these top places. As you said, Luke Weston, you know, not a driver who tends to do that much practice, but just seems to have really good feel for the car and seems to be particularly getting on with the slightly higher downforce, you know, a little bit snappier, but when it's hooked up, that extra load and real drive through the corners. Mick Sutton, probably the guy who's put in the most practice laps. I know he's got a new direct drive wheel as well, so you know, clearly that's improving matters there as well. Maybe he's put that many laps in because he's enjoying his new wheel that much, but it's definitely playing a part. 2nd here at the moment, and actually I was talking to the broadcaster Tom O'Farrell doing a brilliant job of the pictures at the moment, and he was also commenting on his consistency and how well he can find his apexes now is proven really, really good. So fair
As we
play,
come
Mick.
to missing an apex.
Yeah, I believe that was actually, he just caught a little bit of grass on the entry to that corner, hence why he went a little bit wide there. But clearly not on a hot lap, so pulling out the way. But yeah, very impressive to see. Akil, Simon Reed actually going in at third place at the moment. Simon Reed appeared to be struggling in practice, just getting the car to do what he actually wanted it to do, but finding the pace. And you know what? Where these two battle, Mick Sutton and Simon Reed, all the way through MX5, it was one hell of a battle to watch, wasn't it, Ed?
Yeah, and we know that from last season, Simon Reed is a very strong qualifier. I believe he got the most amount of pole positions compared to any other driver out here on the circuit at the moment. So he's a very quick pedaler, but it's all about getting the race pace down underneath you, as we see. Ooh, last time I by, Luke Weston did just set the fastest final sector, but the first sector was way off the pace. So if Luke Weston can get this pace underneath him, this could be very good. Simon Reed, though, is going to try and no, he is actually going into the pit, so no improvements coming through here. And another newcomer, I believe, Kenny Press. Didn't see him at all last season in the X5s, but decided to jump in for the Formula 4s. Speaking of jumping into the Formula 4s, if there are any of you watching the stream tonight and thinking, oh, I really wish I was involved, well, don't be shy. Hop on down to VRRC, get involved in the Discord, and we'll be able to try and sort you out with getting involved in all of the future rounds of the championship. There are, of course, still spaces, aren't there, Brad?
Yeah, there is
Brad,
indeed.
why don't I call Brad? Thinking of Brad Smith. I was having a look at his times coming through, sorry.
I knew perfectly well who you meant still. Yeah, so there's still another 5 rounds after tonight, and you know what? It's just so good to just get involved, getting behind this car, because all the drivers are commenting on how good the car feels to drive. And you know what? Who doesn't want to get down on the grid and have a chance to win a nice set of new headphones? So yeah, feel free to get involved. Join our VRRC Discord, even if you're not going to enter, just to see what's happening, what races are planned. And you never know, there might be a fun race or something along them lines that you really like the look of. I know we've got 90 Super Touring, British Touring Car event coming up. So if that sounds like a bit of you, make sure you jump on the Discord to keep an eye on things.
Yeah, we're going to be following Simon Thorpe now. Come up to the line, improves both in the first sector and into the second sector, but doesn't improve on the timing sheets. Unfortunately, there has not been able to find any ground to be made up against Brad Smith. Instead, we'll follow him through the remainder of this lap. I think he's just trying to get up to speed a little bit. We know he can go faster. We've seen pace come through from Simon Thorpe, and a lot of it is also down to the tyre performance. Drivers have been complaining a little bit of excess where you can have 2 really quick push laps in qualifying, but after that the tyres start to go past their best. So I don't know, maybe this is Simon Thorpe just being a bit cautious on the open lap, getting heat into the tyres and then using this as a chance to go absolutely flat out. He's improved in the first sector. Second sector though, not quite good enough, and he stays currently 9th fastest.
Yeah, so you touched on a point there regarding tyres, and it's very much the way it works in real life. You know, you chuck a new set of slicks on the car, and you'll be lucky if you have 4 laps of ultimate potential in that tyre. Then after that, it starts to drop off, and then you get to this sort of plateau where it sort of gets to this mid-stage where it holds on at a reasonable standard, but it'll still be a good 0.4 of a second off maybe what the ultimate lap time is of that tyre. And then you get past that and it really drops off. And what the drivers are saying is they've got to be a bit careful with how hard they're going to have to push this tyre at the start of the race, especially with the extra fuel load lined up. So Taylor there having a little bit of a spin, maybe that's overworking them tyres a little bit. But yeah, as I said, you know, you're getting on 15 laps into this race and you're going to really struggle. Yeah, Mick Sutton doing very well indeed. Still sitting second currently. Luke Weston, the only driver in that 45-6 bracket at the moment, but Mick Sutton is on a hot lap. Let's see how he does.
Yeah, comes up to the line, held a best first sector, but second sector wasn't quite there. Ahead of Akil Alibai for the moment, as Luke Weston, he's tried to, actually he improved last time by for 45.663 current provisional pole time there. Looking very quick indeed for the driver who came 5th place last season. The numbers on the side there denoting where the drivers came last season in terms of championship finishing order. And then the newcomers, of course, Akil and Kenny with the number 19 and the number 20.
Yeah, as well as Taylor O'Flanagan there with a number 17, a very, very late comer. I was literally setting up his PC about 45 minutes ago, so that tells you, you know, how quick that's all came about, and jumped in the server, and he, you know, it's brilliant to see these drivers turn up.
Wonder then if a driver joined now, would they be able to get involved for the second race? Maybe you'd be able to get through it nice and quickly, Dave. You're working very hard on me. Appreciate getting all the drivers up to speed and making sure their equipment's up and running, of course. I thought for a moment we were going to see Brad Smith getting collected there, but he does it all by himself there on the exit of Druids. So easy, isn't it, to come through that little bit too early. Obviously, like you mentioned, chasing that extra bit of boost by getting on the power nice and early, and just by getting a wheel off onto the grass on exit, you can find yourself quite easily looping it round.
Yeah, you can indeed. That was a prime time moment of exactly what you said. Trying to get on the throttle super early, boosting it out onto that AstroTurf. Little bit of a slip of that rear wheel, and then off into the right hand wall. Did very well not to actually end up in the wall there. Managed to keep away from it. Yeah, it's not nice seeing a car go off there. I was at Brands Hatch when a VW Cup car speed off into that wall, and you'd be surprised. It's downhill, slippy grass on that right hand side, and they hit that with some serious force.
Yeah, thankfully, of course, this is the sim, so not only the drivers most protected from physical harm, but also harm to their bank balances. We know that motorsport can be a very costly business, so good to see that there's no harm done here. We can focus on the action, which is the real key point of it. There has been a lot of action in this qualifying session, and Kenny Press is going to try and add a little bit more. He improves in the first sector, doesn't improve in the second, drops back to 6th as Taylor O'Flanagan goes 5th fastest. So Taylor is definitely finding a good bit of pace now later on in the session, has been able to get into a good groove, get some more laps under his belt, and it's helping him out. No, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's going to come really good in the second race when he's had that extra bit of time behind the wheel.
Yeah, I mean, Taylor's one of these guys who he does racing in real life, and he just wants a little bit more sim practice and getting involved in the racing scene. He doesn't feel like he's necessarily quite up to speed there, and found the academy as a great opportunity just to jump in and find whereabouts he is. And you know what? It's proven he's, you know, very, very quick driver, and indeed almost putting it with inside that podium position already. Very, very tight at the top. But yeah, as I said, Taylor races in real life. I believe he's a Caterham scholarship driver, so he races a Caterham in real life. So I'm liking to think that maybe his racecraft actually might be a more of a picture than his actual outright speed on a sim. So maybe I expect to see Taylor do really well in the actual racing side of things.
Yeah, he joins good company though, doesn't he, on VRRC? Several drivers, of course, that race in real life call the VRRC home to their sim racing exploits as all. There's a driver having an exploit off the circuit, and I think, is that Simon Thorpe? I believe that was him on the exit of Paddock Hill Bend. They're getting all sorts of wrong, but keeping out of the way of Brad Smith. See if Brad Smith's been held up at all. No, he hasn't, because he goes... he sets his fastest sector one time of this session. Right, through the final corner now.
Whoa.
We can see that Simon Reed, in the last breath of this qualifying session, has somehow put a worldly lap time in just to pip Luke Weston to pole position.
How did that happen?
How did that
happen? You know, this is going to be great to see if Luke Weston can respond here. This is the last lap of qualifying, so can he put this last corner
Sector
together?
one's not looking good.
Yeah. Already I'm looking, his sector one is nearly half a second down. That's done and dusted, that, for his qualifying lap. There's no one else really on a fast lap time here. So actually it's looking like Simon Reed has managed to do it when it absolutely mattered. Fair play, Simon Reed.
Well, you know, he's not last season's champion for no reason, is he? He can pull it out when it counts. Last gasp attempt for pole position there by Simon Reed. That was an amazing lap coming through there, right at the death. Oh, that's going to really wear psychologically, though, I think, on Luke Weston, because he's been going through this qualifying session. He's been the man to beat. He's been on pole. He thinks, oh, I've got this settled done. He's getting ready for the race, thinking, oh, right, pole position. All I've got to do is keep the other cars behind. It's a difficult circuit to overtake. But this man, Simon Reed, said, no, thank you. I'm going to take pole position and I'm going to get back to where I started last season. And Dave, he's in the commentary box with us now.
He is indeed. And Simon, I've got to ask, did you feel like you had that pace in the car and it was just executing, or was that a bit of a last lap, just major fire in there?
I mean, yeah, I wasn't expecting it at all, to be honest with you. Yeah, I couldn't believe it when I crossed the line and saw that drop to number 1. But yeah, it was a good lap. But now the pressure's on.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to ask, Luke Weston's there, tucked in behind. He's looking really quite quick there in that slot. Mick Sutton's obviously done the practice, but you seem relatively late in the practice of this session. So is it a case of where you're just going to get stronger and stronger, you think, during the race? And have you done a bit of practice with the tyre strategy?
Yeah, I have done a little bit of practice with the tyre strategy, but I mean, it's still, with the pressure of everyone else there, it's still going to be tricky to try and pull it off, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be really interesting to watch. I can't believe how tight it is, if I'm honest, at the top. So a very, very good effort, Simon, there in putting it on pole, and an incredible lap time as well. That's right up there with the fastest lap times I've seen being done on the track. So huge congrats for putting it together in qualifying.
Thanks very much, Dave.
So on that was pole sitter Simon Reed having a chat with Dave Marshall, but we've got to go for a short ad break. We'll be back with all of the action very shortly. Stay tuned. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to VRRC. And well, what a front row this is. Simon Reed getting back to the pace that we expect from him, but I'm surprised that he didn't show in the practice session. Left it late, but he's finally gotten up to speed behind the wheel of this Formula 4 car. Head of Luke Weston on the front row. This is going to shape up to a brilliant fight for all of these drivers, as well as Mick Sutton, third place. Akil as well in fourth, newcomer. I don't know which way this is going to go. We were saying we don't know who's going to come out on top.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be a case of we'll wait and see what the drivers have learnt from the MX-5s. These cars are going to be a little bit harder to race, remember. Open wheels, possible chance for tyre-to-tyre contact. These drivers really need to be wary about patience and just waiting for their moves to develop, not trying to push anything.
Yeah, you can see as well Taylor Flanagan there in fifth place in the all blacked out Formula 4. What can he do? Can he try and maybe send a move down the inside into the first corner if he gets a good start? It could definitely open up. 10 seconds though until we see the lights go on and we go racing. You can see the countdown on your screens now. The engine notes start to rise. The drivers get ready to get the season underway here for the first time at Brands Hatch. in Formula 4s, and Simon Reed gets a good start off the line. Is able to fend off Luke Weston into Paddock Hill Bend. Down the hill they go, up the rise into Druids. It will be Simon Reed ahead of Luke Weston. Luke will look to the outside. Simon Reed covers off the inside very nicely as Brad Smith makes a move down the inside, and that was on Taylor Flanagan. And off the road there, Sam Milner and Kenny Press, I think, having a coming together.
Yeah, a bit of a nightmare start there by Sam Milner. Taylor Flanagan as well, getting a little bit caught up in things. Oh, and Mick Sutton, a huge moment off into the wall. Mick Sutton, I don't know whether that was a little bit too much curb on entry or what, but the car just seemed to rotate left and keep going. That is a huge crash. I imagine that car's probably quite a considerable write-off. Rich Hayden is in the gravel trap in the last corner as well. This is huge drama gone on the first lap here. Luke Weston, though, keeping the pressure on the back there of Simon Reed. And I tell you what, a kill with a great
Safety
start.
car.
This is looking like this is a virtual safety car, should I point out. They would not actually see a safety car out on track, but they will all hold a consistent pace. They'll all bunch back up and then go again. So, wow, what a dramatic start that was. All seem to develop completely un-car related, if you like. Mick Sutton just with a spin on his own behalf.
Yeah, I think he cut a little bit too much of the course there over the left-hand curb. He's coming up to that corner now, and it's a very tricky corner. Even in the MX Flows, when I was doing practice laps, it was one there. If you cut the curb a little bit too much, trying to shave off the 10th, you would find yourself really struggling to keep control of the car, and more often than not spinning out, as Mick Sutton did. These Formula 4s are tricky. This is the first time, of course, these drivers have driven them in racing conditions in anger with loads of cars around them, so it'd be expected to see a few incidents here or there. Weston, though, in second place. He's going to be grateful that Simon Reed hasn't been able to get away or run away with it for the moment. He was looking like he was going to try to, but this could be a chance for Luke Weston to try and get the jump on the restart.
Yeah, and I tell you what, I reckon these drivers here, this is not what they needed to try and keep them tyres in this window. These tyres are incredibly sensitive, and yeah, we'll wait and see how these drivers manage to keep their time in, because that is going to be everything come the restart.
Yes, it will. So I think we're coming to the end of the safety car period. I believe all the drivers have caught up into the train, so expect the drivers to more likely than not get this racing back underway. You can see that the weaving has stopped from Simon Reed, so I think he's getting ready to get this back on the road. He takes a very wide line through the final corner, stamps on the loud pedal, and he is off. Luke Weston has been, well, left behind a little bit and left vulnerable, because you can see Akil is looking keen in the rearview mirrors right underneath the rear diffuser, goes to the outside through Paddock Hill Bend, tries to fight it through, is shown the outside line, tries to get the cutback, get the run into Druids. There's a potential for a diving move down the inside. He's going to go for it, you know. And there's contact between the two of them, wheel-to-wheel stuff, but they are able to keep it just about in a straight line. Luke Weston maintains second position, but only just. Brad Smith is up through the order quite well since the start of the race, up into fourth, and starting to look for a move down on the inside. Brad Smith is going to go for it here for third place. Has he got the move done? No, he doesn't. He's falling down the order. Oh, we just missed the contact. Yeah, he's off. Wow.
Yeah, again, huge drama on the restart. Luke Weston there and Brad Smith seem to get a bit close. I was going to say door to door, but the cars don't have doors, do they? But yeah, up into Druids, that was looking a bit racy there. But Simon Reed doing a brilliant job on the restart there, really getting a good gap to Luke Weston and make Luke Weston do all of the work defending rather than attacking himself. So really good job there by Simon Reed, that restart. And I have to say, Kenny Press's car reminds me a little bit, if you know them kids' toys you get.
Yeah, the different colours.
Yeah, very. I don't know why it come to us there, but yeah, just every time I see his car, that's what it reminds me of.
Yeah, like something you wouldn't find at a place at, what is it called? Early Learning Centre, one of them sort of old kids shops back in the day. I don't know if they still exist, actually, Early Learning Centre. But we'll banish that thought for the moment, because look at this. Luke Weston has really closed up, hasn't he? That gap was massive between Simon Reed and Luke, but he's been able to put in a good charge through this final sector as Luke, and In doing so, set the fastest final sector of anybody this race and is right up behind Simon Reed, a battle for the lead. But don't forget, the drivers can't afford to go battling too much, take it out of their tyres, because they will have nothing left come the end and be very vulnerable for those drivers behind that have just been managing the race, like we're seeing from Akil Ali. Oh, Simon Reed gets wide on the exit but powers through it. I don't know which way this is going to go, though. Is Luke Weston going to look for a move? Is he going to just bide his time behind and look after his tyres? Down the inside into Paddock Hill, and is there contact? Or is that Simon Reed getting out of the way? For me, it looked like Simon Reed's car stepped out a little bit, as if there might have been some netcode incident going on there.
No, that was just a great calculated move there by Luke Weston. He knows these cars are great on the brakes as long as you can keep that car straight. He set it up. He went, Simon, I'm coming down the inside there. Brake in a straight line, got the car stopped, and there's nothing Simon could do there. The best he could have done was trying to go back left to try and get some sort of undercut. But I tell you what, the way Luke raced that there really impressed me. He set it up really well in that last corner, nice and balanced, find his apex. It was Simon Reed who looked a little bit out of position. Very, very good racing there by Luke Weston. And I tell you what, this is bringing Akil right into this now. Akil is looking very racy, and I think Taylor Flanagan as well is also looking like he's getting to grips with this car. This has turned into a four-way battle, but I wouldn't be unexpected if I saw Luke Weston start to pull away.
Yeah, so we'll see if that is going to be the case, as Richard Hayden again gets it all out of shape through Paddock Hill Bend. Taylor Flanagan in a hot pursuit of Akil Ali, as well as Simon Reed for the podium places unfolding right before our eyes as Akil gets it all out of shape. It's what you mentioned, on the brakes too much, turning in while trying to slow the car down, swaps the ends around. He's able to rejoin the circuit, loses out a couple of places, but still up in the top 5. So not the end of the world, but definitely a major setback.
Yeah, definitely. And I tell you what, I wonder whether that was maybe just a little bit of pressure starting to be applied by Taylor there, which just meant he maybe lacked a little bit of concentration, or has he lost a little bit of tyre performance? The big thing I was taking from these drivers was any little slide or any moment can really start to overheat these tyres very, very quickly. And you've got to actually, I think that's exactly what's happened with Rich Hayden, in fact. If I'm honest, I think he's probably had too many slides. Them tyres have got to that temperature where they're just going to struggle to cool down. So you need to almost take a few seconds off your lap time to let them cool down before you build back into it. Otherwise, them tyres are just not going to get a break.
Reckon you can maybe cool it down going off the track at Graham Hill Bend, over the grass, cooling it down? Do you reckon that might be able to help some of the drivers? I don't think
the grass is wet enough to have an instant cool down effect there, Ed. But yeah, it's going to be a tough job for Rich now to try and get a bit of tyre temp down out of there. Obviously, there's drivers that might have not even done a race stint, so this is maybe a bit of a leap into the unknown from Luke Weston, from Simon Reed and Taylor. All three drivers relatively little practice, and I don't think they've done a race stint.
I mean, that means that they're all on a level playing field, I suppose, but Luke Weston has been class above the rest. You can see him building the margin to Simon Reed in second place. The gap nearly a second. It's just beneath that margin. Taylor Flanagan as well as second back. So they're all nearly equidistant from one another as they make their way into Druids. Got to be very careful though to avoid the curbing on this track. It can be very brutal, especially for these rather sensitive Formula 4s. On board this with Simon Reed, you can see he's being very gentle with the car, not fighting it too much, trying to keep those tyres in a good nick.
Yeah, and I tell you what, I think Taylor's starting to have a bit of a battle here. He's starting to sense that he's not as far off the pace as maybe what he thought in practice. Really starting to use that slipstream of Simon Reed in front. You'll notice the cars start to just creep onto the back of it. In fact, Taylor O'Flanagan, last lap, fastest lap of anyone on track. So Taylor is the guy on the move at the moment, sitting there currently third. Luke Weston, though, I think he won't be wanting to overwork them tyres, just taking things into his own pace. Really impressing me at the moment.
Yeah, of course, Dirty, and not the biggest of factors in these Formula 4 cars. They don't have enough downforce to be truly affected by it. It's more about the power to weight ratio, which is how these cars are so quick through the corners. Taylor Flanagan closing it in. can see he's really piling the pressure onto Simon Reed. And is Simon Reed going to be prone to a mistake in this new bit of kit? Not had too many laps like you alluded to there, Dave. So if Taylor can sort of build on his real life experience and try and transfer that into the sim, you can see how consistent he is through the corners. He gets a brilliant run into Druids, forces Simon Reed to go defensive, and if he wasn't feeling the pressure before, he certainly is now.
Yeah, I tell you what, this is just a case of I don't want to give him a commentator's curse here, but he's driving within himself and just keeping that pressure on the back of Simon Reed. It's making Simon think, I'm not going fast enough, I need to push harder, and that's exactly when their mistakes will start happening. You can see Taylor opening them corners up, Simon with a little slip there mid corner. This is an opportunity here. Taylor O'Flanagan with the run round the outside. Will he out drag Simon, or will he brake a little bit early to get the undercut? I doubt he'll risk this to go around the outside. In fact, that's exactly what he's doing. Incredibly brave move to go around the outside of Simon Reed. It's going to be side by side up towards Druid. Simon Reed hard on the brakes up the inside.
Go for the cutback.
Looking for the undercut. You do not want to catch that curb on the inside though. That'll light that diff up and spin you around quickly. Taylor O'Flanagan though, there's an opportunity. In fact, Simon Reed slightly wide. Taylor's up the inside. That will be job done. Taylor will move back across. That is it. Simon Reed down to third place. It's now Simon to put the pressure on and Taylor to try and receive that pressure.
Taylor is so strong though coming through the final corner. Every single time he's on the money on getting the throttle down nice and very deft on the loud pedal there, which allows him to get such a strong run down this start-finish stretch. And now he's going to try and close the gap to Luke Weston. He didn't seem to use too much of his tyres. Like you said, drove very much within himself on this early phase of the race. We're, well, nearly halfway through, aren't we? In fact, we're actually over halfway now with a little bit of action still to come. Simon Reed, though,
a mistake.
Very close. A rare mistake there from Taylor Flanagan. The car, his experience behind this particular bit of kit on the sim is proving to be very tricky for him to get to grips with. But again, that final corner is a very strong area of the track for him, so he's able to stay in front where it counts. In the areas where he's a little bit weaker are places where you don't often find moves being made.
Yeah, I just wonder whether these tyres are really starting to feel it now. You can see the cars starting to slide a bit more. I'll be keeping an eye on the lap time. But currently Luke Weston out in front, lapping a consistent low 46, so not too much big of a drop off at the moment. I do think Luke's just holding back slightly on the outright pace he can go. But this is where I'm interested to see whether Taylor tries to hold that consistent speed or whether he's going to try and gap Simon. But the chance of a spin or a slide when you're trying to push to open that gap like he has just done. A huge slide there. How did he save that? How did he save that, Ed? Huge save there. That you just don't do that in a Formula car.
I think he was put off a little bit by Simon Reed looking down the inside of the corner where it would have been an amazing move from so far back. Taylor Flanagan probably looked in his rearview mirror, saw that happen and was like, oh, what's going on here? And was too busy looking behind it. He wasn't looking at the corner in front. As down the inside of Keel, Ali Bai is able to get up ahead for the moment against Brad Smith. Actually, no, I think that's a back marker. That is Mick Sutton, I believe, that they're getting through. My mistake. Brad Smith in the background there in the bright yellow and bright pink car. You're not going to miss him, are you? And you've certainly not missed him. He's been a real entertaining force, unfortunately involved in few incidents early doors in the race, but still Brad Smith coming up through very nicely as all Rich Hayden. That's not the first time we've seen him, often maybe not the last time. As what's happened here to Akil?
Yeah, I don't know whether that was a collision with another driver or just a little bit of that snap again in that last corner. You can see here Taylor's back on the case of Simon Reed. This is where I would say Taylor really needs to be smart here. He's gone fast enough, but he just needs to use that slipstream to back it off a little bit in the corners, protect his tyres a little bit more than Simon Reed, and then have a last-minute charge later on in the race then to do the damage. But I tell you a driver who is really impressing me here, Kenny Press, just sat there in 4th place. He hasn't really lost any time to these two ahead, and he also hasn't really gained. He's just a driver who's currently lapping, very, very consistent. I'm going to call him the Noddy car. It's finally remembered, and also the broadcaster as well also said it reminded me of Noddy. But yeah, it is the Noddy colours, and Kenny Press in 4th place, doing a very good, consistent job. Very well driven there.
Yeah, excellent little drive that from Kenny Press rather. We can see him out on the circuit now, coming through Graham Hill Bend.
I could be wrong as well, Ed. Strongest finish yet for Kenny Press, 4th place. I mean, it's 4 minutes to go of the race yet. Don't want the commentators curse him, but strongest position that he's been in so far.
Yeah, he's definitely the highest he's been all evening long. So good stuff so far from Press. Having a look at the lap times coming through here, and Taylor Flanagan starting to pile pressure back onto Simon Reed, setting the fastest final sector of anybody. So Taylor has been able to keep his tyres in a very good condition, and look at this, really close. You can't say bumper to bumper, can you? Because there's none there. There's wing to wing, front wing to rear wing. They make their way down the hill through Graham Hill and then up the hill once more into the final corner. And this is where time and time again Taylor Flanagan has been so strong. He closes it down to Simon Reed and again gets into the slipstream. He's going to be able to get a little bit extra speed, chance to send a move maybe into Paddock Hill Bend. Ooh, is he going to go for a move? We're on board with him here. Looks to the outside, is forced wide there by Simon Reed, then looks for a slight switchback, gets the overspeed but not the gap closing down enough to look into poor Druids. There's a gap opening on the inside though. Simon Reed overcooks it on the brakes just a little bit far too late and is vulnerable now. You can see how much Taylor is fighting very wide there through Graham Hill, but keeps the car going. Very careful to, of course, avoid the grass. Just getting onto the Astra, that's fine. Very wide line being taken, and the car's going to swap ends again. Oh, and he doesn't hold it this time. It just snaps one way, then the other. So unfortunate for Taylor Flanagan. And look at that. Look who's up into 3rd place. You didn't want to give him the commentator's curse, but instead you've blessed him. Currently, Kenny Press up in 3rd place.
Such a drive for Kenny at the moment. I don't want a commentator's curse mixed up with another spin. I'd imagine that is tyres. It has to be. Mixed up with seen is driven very, very well in practice. And I think once he's got them tyre temps up and he's cooked them tyres, that's them done. Meanwhile, Kenny Press driving within himself, just consistent lap times of around them mid 46s, so a little bit slower than the outright pace of them front runners, but enough to keep it on the track and put them laps in where to put him into a position where he's currently sat on the podium. What a drive, Kenny Press.
Yeah, good stuff all out through the field, especially Luke Weston. I thought that maybe not getting pole position at the death, being denied it by Simon Reed, would have had an effect, but it certainly hasn't, has he? He's been very strong all race long, just lap after lap, building the margin. For 2nd place, Simon Reed, nearly a second faster last time by was Luke Weston compared to Simon Reed. So such a strong show of pace on a circuit where the lap times are under a minute long. To be a second faster than your nearest competition is, well, it boggles the mind.
Yeah, it isn't. Actually, I can't believe how spread out this field is. But I tell you what, if the slipstream's going to play that much of a part on a track round here, you saw as soon as you get a driver in that slipstream, it makes it that much easier to lap the same lap time as the driver in front. So very, very impressive to see. Akil slowing down here. I wonder whether this is maybe a case of not enough fuel in the car, possibly. That'll be interesting to see, but you got to remember it'll be reverse grid race, and that puts him in a really good position for the reverse grid race. Yeah, he is coming in the pit, so I would have thought that is probably a fueling issue, maybe slightly short on fuel there.
Yeah, unfortunate to see, but something that's a little bit nicer to see, something that we can cheer ourselves up with, is Luke Weston here, who's going to come across the line to start the final lap of the race. 30 seconds on the clock. Makes his way through Paddock Hill Bend for the final time in this first race of the evening. And, well, just look at the clear track he has behind him. Simon Reed is so far back that he's only just now braking for Druids. So that is the margin that Luke Weston's been able to build all race long. You thought that maybe he would have met his match in qualifying with Simon Reed's pace over 1 lap, but Luke Weston has shown consistency and his ability as well to carry on going. A driver that has not had too much practice time, but has shown excellent ability to lean on his talent to get up to where he needs to be for the start of this season. Takes the first race victory here at Brands Hatch, kicks off his season in the way he was hoping. Great stuff there from Luke Weston, and Simon Reed will come across the line in a very respectable second place. Very few mistakes creeping in from Simon Reed, and kept it on the island all race long. Most importantly, we see Kenny Press take your hat off, sunshine. What a drive there. The blessing of Dave Marshall in the commentary box proving to be Kenny Press's lucky charm there, getting third place. But as I say, it was luck. It was just a skillful drive, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. You know what it was? It was a driver driving within himself. He's obviously clicking with his car slightly. He's got good feel through it. He maybe doesn't have the absolute outright pace in the car, but he's doing enough to bring on them podiums. What a drive by him, and you saw the weaving when he crossed the line. That must mean a lot for him. His first VRRC podium since he's been racing with us. Fair play, Kenny Press.
Yeah, good stuff there from the Noddy car, and let's go and give him a nod of appreciation as he comes into the pit lane and is able to celebrate a very well-earned third place finish as the drivers start to trickle their way into the commentary box. Dave, I'll let you conduct the post-race interviews.
We will indeed, and unfortunately I don't believe Kenny Press we can talk to. Unfortunately, I don't think he's actually got a microphone, but you know what, Kenny will see himself on screen here, and all we can say is the commentators, fair play Kenny, that was a really, really well deserved podium. Fair play, mate. And we'll move on to our second place finisher, Simon Reed. I've got to ask, the car, it's proven difficult to race in, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, and particularly on this circuit as well. There's not a lot of opportunity to overtake, and you've got to be so careful to maintain the traction while the tyres are going off the whole time.
Yeah, and I've got to quickly ask you as well regarding, Taylor O'Flanagan and you coming to the championship, definitely proving a really good fight with you, nice and fair racing, and I bet that was keeping you right on the end of your tiptoes.
Yeah, absolutely. I was keeping a close eye on him, and it was some good clean racing, and it was just unfortunate that he overcooked it on that last corner as I said, the grip on the tyres just goes, and you've got to be so careful to manage the tyres as the race progresses.
Well, looking forward to seeing what you can do in race 2, Simon. I take it you probably think it's going to be quite hard to try and get back through this grid.
Yeah, I think probably some of the slower cars, or at least the people who are not managing the tyres very well, might spin off, and then that'll make it a bit easier to get past them. But it's definitely, to get legitimate overtakes is going to be difficult. Yeah.
So patience is key, isn't it?
Yeah, just let them sort themselves out and benefit from it.
Well, top job there, Simon. Second place finish, and I must point out, same finishing position that it was for MX5 with Luke Weston taking top and yourself second. So if this championship goes anything like the way it does in MX5, you've put yourself in good stead.
It's definitely a good start to the season, but we'll hear next, I suppose, that Luke's force feedback isn't working again.
Well, let's go and have a chat with him now. Congratulations, Simon.
Cheers, Dave.
So we'll move on to Luke Weston, our race winner. I mean, a stellar performance in practice, in qualifying. Just pipped on the very last lap by Simon Reed. You had the outright pace and the consistency there just to bring you through and take the win.
Yeah, that's right. I'm quite pleased with that. Wasn't really expecting to have the pace that I've seemed to have at the minute, but I'm not going to complain, and it seems to have paid off well.
Yeah, is it a car that you're finding, I'm not saying it's particularly easy to drive, but a car that you're gelling with quite well, and you've got a lot of feel through it? Because I presume your force feedback's working now.
Yeah, we're all working, but yeah, I do find this car quite enjoyable when you get the braking balance right, and it's not locking the rears everywhere. You can find quite a lot of time in it, so I'm really enjoying driving it.
And then I've got to quickly ask as well before we finish up with interviews regarding tyres. How punishing is it? You know, is it a case of you can't go out and set laps too quick because your tyres will start to cook that easy? Are you having to calculate that to stretch them over the lap, if you like?
Yeah, of course, you've got to be looking after your tyres at the first half of the race, and there's corners where you need them more than others, I'd say. So, for instance, going down Paddock Hill Bend and the last corner there, you really need to have the most grip possible. But if you can nurture your tyres at the start of the race, you'll find the grip coming to you at the end.
Oh, that's interesting to hear that you feel the tyres came back into a window almost. So yeah, fantastic effort there, Lou. Well done for taking the win, and looking forward to seeing how you managed to get through the grid here in race 2.
Thank you very much.
So spot on. That was Luke Weston, our race 1 winner. I tell you what, interesting to hear, Ed, about the tyres. Feeling that, you know, if you look after them, the tyres go off a bit and then start to come back in. Maybe after the car's slightly lighter with the fuel in, or maybe it's just, you know, the tyres start to balance themselves out a little bit better.
Yeah, I was going to say it's probably down to obviously the car getting a little bit lighter, the sort of nimbleness starts to come back into it when it's not got the full tank of fuel being lugged around on board. So it makes a little bit of sense, but I was surprised that it was to such a noticeable degree that you felt to bring it up into the in the post-race interviews there. So definitely something to consider. Looking after your tyres has already proven to be key once this evening. Who's going to come out on top though in the second race, because it is, I believe, another top 10 reverse, and we can see Mick Sutton, who will try and have a reversal of fortunes from last time out. He starts currently on pole position with Simon Thorpe alongside him in second, Rich Hayden in third, with Sam Milner fourth, Brad Smith fifth, Taylor Flanagan in sixth, ahead of Kevin Press, or Kenny Press. I don't know, I keep calling Kevin Press. Simon Reed, Luke Weston, and
I'm going to throw you under the bus here quickly, Ed. Before the race starts, who's your money on? Who's impressed you in race 1, and who do you think is going to have the go for the race 2?
I don't know. I think it could be close, but maybe we'll see I don't know, Luke Weston coming through the field again.
Well, that'll be fantastic to see as racing does get underway here. Rich Hayden actually with a very impressive start. I thought he wasn't going to make it 3 wide there. Simon Thorpe round the outside of Mick Sutton. Mick Sutton's closed that door. It's actually looking like a very good clean start. 2x2 coming up to Druids. Rich Hayden with the early move past Simon Thorpe there with a little nudge. 3 wide on the exit down towards Graham Hill Bend. We've got Taylor Flanagan. You can see the infamous black car there. Who was that diving up the inside? Brilliant avoiding action there. Simon Thorpe and Rich Hayden both having a little bit of a spin there. And who's that? Brad Smith not having the best of starts there. Luke Weston already up into 4th place, but Mick Sutton is away.
Yeah, several drivers involved in that opening lap collision at Graham Hill Bend. I wouldn't be surprised if we see potentially a safety car. There's another incident going on here. Taylor Flanagan and Brad Smith, I think, yet again having a moment. What on earth happened there? It was an error circuit. We don't tend to see drivers having a collision, having a moment, and there is a safety car coming in. Not what Mick Sutton was hoping for, because look who's up there in 2nd place. Luke Weston. I said he could come through for a great finish, but I didn't expect him to be up there this quick.
Yeah, if I'm honest, I can't quite believe you managed to call that well. Already up in the 2nd place, but this is going to be interesting. Mick Sutton was a pace setter, so was Luke Weston and Simon Reed have all found themselves up into that podium position. Simon Reed, though, Kenny Press, sorry, up into 4th place. Already not a mark on his car. What a drive already.
Oh yeah, what a drive indeed, Luke Weston. I don't even think I definitely didn't expect it to be this strong of a performance, but Mick Sutton, I think he's already got this race underway. It was a very short safety car period, and he's able to clear a gap, gets the race back underway very nicely indeed. Further back, action here into the 1st corner. McKeel up in front, just about as Brad Smith. Wow, what a save.
That I think we might have to put that in a replay and a highlight reel. What a drift that was by Brad Smith. all the way down through turn 1. If you saw that in real life, that is a brown trouser moment.
Oh, that's not just that brown trousers, your entire overalls will be brown after that moment, but he holds it nicely. Great stuff there. Simon Reed as well up into the podium places, looking for his second podium of the night as we see Rich Hayden closing in behind. Well, this is Akil Alibai into. He's going to say Ali bye-bye if he can pass him around the outside. Mick Sutton late on the brakes, but not late enough to get the move done. And there's a bit of contact there on turn in. The car was still there, unfortunately, Rich, and he wasn't able to get the position done. Covered off nicely as Akil sort of V's off the corner almost, doesn't he? Hits there on a straight line and then breaks it at sort of an angle into the corner.
Yeah, he does indeed. Akil doing a very good job here, but feeling the pressure from Rich Hayden just behind. Sam Milner, you know, such bad luck at the start of that race, but actually find himself into 5th position at the moment. Kenny Press actually putting the pressure on Simon Reed up in front. I did notice that Kenny Press was lapping very, very quickly at the end of the race. I just hope he's not going out too quickly here. But a 46.3 by Kenny Press the previous lap, a 46.6 by Simon Reed. So is this Simon Reed trying to look after the tyres, or is this a case of Kenny Press has gone, you know what, I've got a chance of another podium here, let's go for it?
I mean, you'd be silly not to try and go for another podium, wouldn't you? He's in a good position to do so, just sitting behind Simon Reed, keeping the gap close enough so that he doesn't see the car disappear up the road, and then to late stages of the race, he will obviously be able to put a charge on. But there was a slight moment there, I think, going through the final corner. He's leaning on the tyres a little bit much here, is Kenny, and he might start to feel the effect sooner rather than later. Already 5 minutes gone, of course. Oh, massive rear ends there on the way through, but he was able to hold it, which is the main thing. He's got good car control. If he can just maybe back off a little bit going into the corners, he will be a very strong contender. Look at this up in front though. Mick Sutton, Luke Weston side by side. They go through Graham Hill. Oh, and Mick Sutton is able to hold on to the lead for the moment. But Luke Weston is so close, and he's going to look for a move coming out of the final corner. Brakes a little bit earlier, slows the car down, sort of softer on the brakes, and then keeps a nice tight line, gets an amazing run out of the final corner. And Mick Sutton, he's got nothing left to fight back with. He's going to be held around the outside.
Kenny Press!
Oh, what's happened with Kenny Press?
Oh, I believe that's maybe just a case of his tyres have just started to go off the edge a bit there too early onto this race. But yeah, that was a case of Mick Sutton. Oh, is he going to have a look up the inside? I thought he was going to go for a look the inside of Luke Weston there. But just a case of Mick Sutton a little bit too shallow into that last corner and not shrugging enough apex speed off to defend that inside line. But his car's starting to move around a bit here. Is he pushing them tyres a little bit too hard? That is a brave move by Simon Reed up the inside. Mick,
oh no, he's gone.
Mick Sutton holding it around the outside. I believe there was nothing wrong with that. Just Simon Reed maybe getting a little bit fooled by that, trying not to hit him. And I tell you what, Mick Sutton was so brave to hold that round the outside of there. On my screen, there's no sign that there was a collision car to car. So that was just a case
no collision, yeah. It was
just a bit of a case, I think, of Simon Reed losing the back end a bit, trying to make the corner tighter because Mick Sutton had put his car there. Fair play, Mick, you've held it in second place.
Yeah, just too much curb there, but that was exactly what we saw in the opening lap last race from Mick Sutton, taking too much curb there. He wasn't going to make that same mistake twice, and he holds on to second place. But touching as well on what we saw from, well, the Noddy car, is that it's difficult to try and keep the car in a good nick. Kenny Press just, unfortunately, I think overheated those rear tyres too much. We saw him struggling going through the final corner, struggling into first, and then again. I think what he's done is the tyres, they might not be so worn, but I think they're mainly just overheating too much. Not sure if you've had too much experience with that, Dave. Obviously, you know the technical aspects of this car, but I think it's more just down to overheating rather than just out-and-out tyre wear.
Yeah, it's tyre temp, but the problem is as soon as that tyre temp starts to gum up, it then slides the tyre more, meaning that it's wearing it more. So it's a vicious circle that once you start to get too much temp in them tyres, it is so hard to bring it down. And that's what I was saying about how it's a case of you have to really slow the car off on its lap time to get the tyres back in, because if you just try and take half a second off your lap time, I guarantee it won't be enough to get them tyres to cool down. I'm really interested to see whether Sam Milner here, sat in 3rd place, he's been one of the most unlucky drivers, hasn't he? He's always caught in the middle of the action, and it never really seems to be his fault, but he just gets caught in it. So I'm so happy to see Sam Milner currently running in 3rd place.
Yeah, and we've got 12 minutes to go in this race. Plenty of time for me to put you on the spot and let you start to think about who has been the driver of the round. You put me on the spot to predict the race result for this second race. Looking good so far for my prediction, but what is your bet of driver of the round?
You know what? For me, it has to be Luke Weston at the moment. He hasn't put a foot wrong. I don't always want to award it to the driver who is outright fastest, but if I'm honest, he's been consistent. Everyone else has had little hiccups here and there. Kenny Press was such an impressive drive in race 1. Sam Milner with a very, very impressive racing in race 2, but then had issues in race 1. So I've got to say Luke Weston at the moment for me is the driver who is looking flawless out there in this car.
Absolutely, and I think a key factor is that he hasn't had it all his own way. If maybe he was just, dominating it, pole position, leading every single lap, no contest from drivers behind, you'd think, oh, is it really worth giving him driver of the round when he's not been most exciting? But he has been exciting. He's been really quick, and like we said, he's not had it all his own way. He's had to fight tooth and nail with plenty of drivers. Let's not forget Simon Reed snatched pole position at the end, and that was when we were thinking, oh, was Luke Weston come undone? He wasn't able to improve later on as several drivers come undone. Brad Smith, latest of the drivers to find the gravel trap on the exit of the final corner. But yeah, Luke Weston, he's been a great driver, consistent, racing very cleanly as well. It's easy in a new car to make a few mistakes, maybe get involved in some incidents, but we've not seen that whatsoever from Luke.
No, definitely he seems to really have the balance of how hard to push this car, how early on, and really when to just let the car do the work and feather it through the corner. You can see there's a touch wood. I don't want to give a commentator's curse, but there's not really any moments. Oh, Sam Milner!
Oh.
Sam Milner dropping from 3rd to 4th. Simon Reed getting up into 3rd position. Rich Hayden going past the inside of Sam Milner. So a really unfortunate mistake there by Sam Milner. I was really hoping to see a good result here by Sam, if I'm honest with you.
You were saying about not wanting to give a curse to the commentator to Luke up in front, but you inadvertently gave one to Sam Milner. You were saying earlier about how you're really excited to see him off, and Mick Sutton is off all of a sudden in the background, but he's got such a big gap to Simon Reed that it isn't too dramatic.
Oh no, but this is though, Ed. This is dramatic because when Mick has slides like that, that is the tyre temps getting up. As soon as you have that slide, that's them tyre temps through the roof. So Simon Reed, if he can keep his tyres on board here, this might be a perfect opportunity to gain on Mick Sutton losing them few tenths, if not half a second a lap.
Oh, so it could be a little bit closer than I thought. This could go right down to the wire. He's seen Sam Milner trying to close up now to Rich Hayden and make up for lost ground. He was up, he said, high in the field, but unfortunately from a little incident has dropped back down again. He's trying to get his tyres back into the good sort of temperature window so he's not scrubbing them, not sliding too much, getting the heat into them, wearing through the rubber. Ooh, this is going to start to shape up from drivers that have closed up. And I don't know, this is one of these moments where we don't really know what's going to happen in the culture box because the surprise can come charging at us all of a sudden.
Yeah, I really do feel like these cars have proven themselves to be one of them cars where anything can happen. You like to think, oh, the driver's going to pull away, it's done and dusted, but you've seen all it is a slight clip of the curb wrong, a little bit of a grass touch, and these cars have snapped backwards in the gravel, oversteer, cut tyres. It's had everything this race, but the only driver on the grid at the moment that has managed to tame it is the driver that's put it on pole. Sorry, didn't put it on pole. Simon Reed put it on pole. Is the driver who took the race 1 win and is currently looking really flawless. How smooth that steering wheel input is, not overworking them tyres, getting on the brakes nice and hardy, scrub that speed off, then not overloading the tyres through the corner, building on that throttle nice and smoothly. He's just got this car a little bit more sus than the rest of the drivers on the grid. But I tell you what, on a track where Slipstream's going to come into play more, the likes of Snetterton, the likes of Silverstone National, these cars are going to provide some serious action, I'm telling you, Ed.
Yeah, I'd imagine Snetterton's going to be very difficult on the tyres. There's so many aspects of that track that will burn through the rubber, as well. Actually, Thruxton could throw up a bit of a surprise. So keep your eyes open for future rounds here of the VRRC Academy Formula 4 Championship. If you have been enjoying all of the show, of course, make sure to comment down in the YouTube chat. Let us know who you've been cheering on, who you're supporting this season. Maybe if you've switched allegiances or if you're still carrying on with your old favourites, we'd love to hear.
Definitely. I'm interested to see who is the favourites out there on track. I know there's some drivers with a particularly big fan base. Brad Smith, one of them. You know, always a driver who puts a show on, especially watching him through that turn 1 where it was a full 4-wheel drift all the way through it. Exactly the sort of driving we like to see, Brad. You know, for all you're not running at the front at the moment, he always puts a show on and gives it all, and he's got a great fan base behind him. So definitely a driver later on in this season, he will be bringing home results. So just, you know, a little bit more practice and I guarantee we'll see him up there. I know he's also a driver who you know, works incredibly hard and he's got his family back at home, so sometimes there's a bit of a rush getting in the car, getting through the door, getting on his sim and sitting in a loft that I think he said was up to 40 degrees last week.
Oof, yeah,
but he was still, you know, turning out the laps. So fair play, Brad. You know, still putting the laps in. Fair play to you.
Yeah, it's probably losing more than his body weight in sweat, I would imagine. 40-degree loft, good lord, sweating around, pounding out the laps. But hopefully we're going to see him back up to a little bit more of the pace we saw last time out. Of course, I don't think he's had the luxury that other drivers have of being around these other circuits. This is his first time this season, or this championship, coming to Brands Hatch, because he joined midway through, didn't he, at Snetterton?
Yeah.
So when we get to the midway point of the season, I think we'll start to see Brad Smith start to come into his own a little bit.
Yeah, that is actually true. You know, Luke, it's his first time here at Brands. The other drivers have got experience of what works and what doesn't here. But in saying that as well, it's a completely fresh car, completely different driving style. So all the drivers realistically are learning this track a little bit, you know, from scratch, if you like. But, you know, it's one of them where at least they know where the track is going, I think I'm trying to say. You know, if you go to somewhere like Paul Ricard or tracks that maybe these drivers haven't ever been to, you know, it's that much of a challenge to try and learn a new car, new driving style and a new track. Hence why with the Academy, we've kept all the tracks the same throughout the season to try and give these drivers a little bit of a chance of learning their new disciplines, learning new car styles and really develop their driving skill.
Yeah, obviously from last time at the MX5, the drivers will be able to use certain things they learnt in that car to help them here, different lines you can take, ways to approach the corners, what's the fastest route, and of course that can change depending on the car, but they've been able to use that experience, find what works, find what doesn't from last season to this, and they've been able to use that to their advantage, where obviously drivers like Brad Smith, they haven't been able to have that prior experience as well, though all of the newcomers to the season, like Akil Alibai, Kenny Press and Taylor Flanagan, they've come in completely fresh and been, I think, quite a surprise to see how fast they have been. Akil Alibai especially, we haven't seen much of him, but from what we have seen, has been, I think, very promising. His pace over one lap has been good, and in the first race he definitely showed glimmers of being a very capable driver. It's all about getting that experience and building on it, which is what this Academy series is built to do. So I'd keep your eyes out for him later on in the season.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's probably a case of, for me, Akil, he's had great one-lap pace. He's maybe just struggled maybe a slightly lack of seat time. As I said, we were literally set him up 45 minutes before the race. You know, it's probably a case as well. He doesn't quite know the way the tyres are going to react. He's probably been caught out by that a little bit. But definitely a driver with a little bit more seat time in this championship. He is going to be a threat for them top positions, I guarantee it. He's got great car control, great feel in the car, and he's definitely got shown that he can do the lap time. So, yeah, we'll wait and see what he's like. But them tracks with a bit more slipstream, it's going to be really hard for these guys to defend it, and the racecraft is going to have to be on point there.
Yeah, well, so we'll be able to see the drivers develop as the season goes along. We've already been seeing drivers from last season developing into this. Luke Weston has gotten off to a flying start in this Formula 4 car. It seems to be something about Brands Hatch that really brings out the best in Luke. If he wins here this evening, he will equal his total of wins from last season's championship in the MX-5. So it seems to me he's really gelling with this Formula 4 car and is looking like the man to beat. So you'll expect the likes of Mick Sutton and Simon Reed, both drivers that were up there last season in the MX-5s, to put in the extra bit of laps to close into a very strong Luke Weston. A Luke Weston that, let's not forget to mention, didn't put much practice in at all coming into this. He obviously did a few laps, but not near the level that Sutton and Reed put in.
Yeah, as you said, I think he's just a bit of a Brands Hatch master, isn't he? That's not to say that's the only track he's good at, but he just seems to have the balance of Brands Hatch. He knows, you know, it's a very blind track, especially the turn one. It requires commitment. He just seems to know exactly when to brake, get his turning point there. So very, very impressive drive so far by Luke Weston, and just really shows how much he's managed to pull. Mick Sutton there, just about coming into the last corner. Luke Weston already crossing the line to start his new lap. So, yeah, he's managed to really gap it, but I don't think this is a thing that we're going to see in the remainder of the championship. I think with the bigger tracks, it's going to be a lot closer, a lot tighter together, where cars can really use that slipstream to gain that advantage on the cars in front.
Yeah, what I will say is that it's a bit of a shame that you haven't seen that fight materialise between Mick Sutton and Simon Reed. You mentioned it could close in with Mick Sutton's tyres getting more and more worn from the mistakes, but I think he's been able to iron it out, get the tyres back down to temperature, and sort of stop the vicious cycle from spiralling any further. So for me, I think Mick Sutton is likely to hold on to second place. Simon Reed will complete the podium, but this little fight is still not done, is it? We're following Akil Ali, and he's got Sam Milner just up the road, but Kenny Press is starting to close the gap down. Kenny last time by over 4/10 faster, and that gap is seemingly closing down every single time we come by, as the final lap has just been started by Luke Weston.
Yeah, you know what, Kenny Press yet again, even with a spin, really impressive pace. I tell you what, I think we've got to rule Kenny into this championship really here, don't we? He has to be a contender for one of them podium spots in my mind. He's done a brilliant job in race one, and he's, even with a spin and loss of control, brilliant drive in race two as well. But it is Luke Weston across the line for a race two win, a perfect weekend here at Brands Hatch, the Brands Hatch master, should we say. And let's see what he can do next time out in the car when we go to the next track.
Yeah, exactly. That is going to be a real exciting venture, isn't it, when we go to next week's action? But we're going to focus on all of this up to the line. We've seen Mick Sutton and Simon Reed come across the line to complete the podium with a drag race at the line. Akil just getting the edge over Kenny Press, but by the thinnest of
second.
Margins. Yeah,
200th of a second there. That was insanely close.
So close to a move there from Kenny Press, being able to get up into sixth place, but it just wasn't to be. He'll have plenty more chances, though, to get good results, just like Luke Weston has been able to do this evening. His second race victory in this championship after, well, there's only been 2 races. Luke Weston looking like a very strong force in this Formula 4. Mick Sutton coming home in second place, able to get a good result finally under his belt. We saw in qualifying he was looking like one of the drivers to beat up until the time where Luke Weston really started to put a charge on. Simon Reed as well coming through for his second podium of the evening. I think he'll be very pleased with that. But I think, Dave, you'll be able to find out just how pleased all these drivers were with that race because they've all jumped in to have a word with you.
We will indeed, and we'll jump straight to our P3 finisher, Simon Reed, a double podium and the qualifying pole lap. It's not a race weekend you can be too miserable about, is it really?
No, absolutely not. I mean, yeah, a win would have been nice, but yeah, as you say, pole and 2 podiums, that's a good start to the season.
I've got to ask, going into race 2, is it a thing where you're really starting to learn the car a little bit more now? Are you starting to understand its sort of traits, and you can see the potential it's going to have on the likes of Silverstone National and Snetterton, where that slipstream's really going to come into the racecraft?
Yeah, I've learned a lot today, and certainly in race 2, I felt more comfortable pushing the car, even with the tyre degradation going on. So yeah, I'm feeling more comfortable with the car.
Well, spot on there, Simon. Huge congrats on taking the double podium here this weekend, and looking forward to seeing how you get on at Silverstone National next round out.
Yeah, me too. Cheers, Dave.
Spot on. And we'll jump to our race 2 second place finisher, Mick Sutton. Definitely not the race 1 you wanted, especially with the pace that you proved you'd had in the car. A really, really freak accident. I don't really know what happened there. It looked like maybe you just bottomed out on the curb and a complete loss of traction, left off into the wall, and that was you done and dusted. But race 2, you really made it count and brought home a second place finish, didn't you?
Race 1, I'd like to try and forget because that wasn't very good at all. But yeah, race 2, I felt I didn't know what to do. I didn't know whether to go steady at the start and then try and save the tyres till the end, or just push at the start and hope that everybody else battling behind would slow themselves down and give me that bit of an advantage. But that first safety car sort of took all my advantage away, and when I looked in my mirror, I got Luke straight behind me, and I thought, oh dear me, this is a problem.
Well, I'll ask the same question as Simon. You know, regarding the tracks coming up, I take it you're really quite excited to see what this car's going to do on other tracks when it's going to be, you know, a case of where overtakes are maybe slightly easier to pull off.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, this track in any car is particularly hard on the right-hand side tyres, and everybody knows. But this car with these softs, I mean, you probably saw in that I didn't really pay much attention what the lap times were, but they must have been a good second and a half, if not 2 seconds slower than quali most of the race, because you just can't hold that pace with these tyres.
Yeah, well, it's a learning curve. It's a new tyre, obviously, on the car, but as well, it's a new car discipline as well. So a lot of things to learn, but I think you'll agree it's all a learning curve. You've done it already, finished second on the grid, so it's an impressive start to the championship for all race 1 you want to forget about. But you've got the pace in the car, and we're looking forward to seeing what you can do at Silverstone National.
Thank you very much, and well done everybody else. Well done, Luke.
Yes, well, we will move to our first position finisher tonight. Luke Weston turned into a bit of a Brands Hatch master there, and seemed like you've really got to grips with this F4 car really quickly.
Yeah, it's not too bad, is it? Yeah, it helps when you like the circuit and you seem to be getting on all right with the cars, and it seemed to get a bit lucky at the start there with a couple of cars coming together. I'm not quite sure what happened coming out of the last corner when the safety car was called, but I decided I was going to make the most of it, and I saw myself in P2 and Mick just in front of me.
Yeah, I mean, you had a perfect second race start, really, taking advantage of the gaps when they sort of provided themselves to you, managing to judge whether to go left or right brilliantly there, and that's what really helped you get right on the back that quickly. I'll ask the same question that I asked both Mick and Simon. Regarding the other tracks, though, maybe slightly easier to defend here than maybe the other tracks. Do you think the slipstream and the tyre wear is really going to play a part in the tracks coming up?
Yeah, obviously the slipstream at circuits like Snet and Donington is going to be very powerful with the long straights, but defending on other circuits is going to be a bit more challenging as there's the straights into the heavy braking zones, and some circuits are a bit wider than this one, so it should be interesting to watch. And this championship, I have to say, is going to get in very interesting very soon.
Yeah, well, it's already got definitely interesting. Very well done on your double win there, Luke. And let's see what you can do next round out.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And there we go, Ed. Drivers seeming relatively confident there about them, feeling like they've got a little bit more to grips now with the way the car's going to handle, especially over a race stint.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the first test for the drivers, and well, Luke Weston has passed it with flying colours. But a driver that was a little bit tested out on the circuit was Rich Hayden. But Rich, you were obviously there not as a championship entrant, but more as a driver to sort of get back out there on the grid. And how was that for you?
Yeah, it was interesting. That's the best way to put it. That car is so tricky when the tyres start to go off. There's so much snap oversteer as you're coming around. If you just try and feed the power in a little bit more than you the tyres will allow you, it just spits you off. But no, that was fun. Is it good to watch?
Oh, mate, it was great to watch. I mean, Dave were really enjoying chatting through, and we did see. We tried to skip away from the incidents, but there were quite a few, mainly involving yourself. But it just shows, isn't it? This car is a tricky beast to handle.
Absolutely, yeah. And the guys will find out in the next coming weeks how to do it better from aid coaching.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Dave, you've got that to look forward to. Is there anything you've got to mention to Rich? Maybe that'll help him out.
Well, there's a couple of techniques that can be helped. I think it's crucially getting earlier on brakes and tire degradation is such a big thing in these cars. But I honestly think when it gets to them tracks or them longer straights, it's going to be really down to how good the racecraft can be and calculate where is the place to make them overtakes. Not to maybe do them onto them corners where you're coming onto them straights and leaving yourself as a bit of a sitting duck. So as you can see on screen now, Silverstone National, Donington Park, Stettin 300, Thruxton, all 4 tracks where that slipstream is going to be absolutely massive. Finishing off with Cadwell Park, these cars are so stiff. The chassis is just a carbon fibre bottom end on it. It is super, super stiff. So it's going to be really hard to try and get them tyres nice and planted on the floor, and not carrying too much apex speed is going to be the key there. So this championship is going to be so good to watch. I cannot wait.
Oh, it is. It's going to be an amazing affair. So you don't want to go anywhere. You want to stay tuned, of course, to VRRC. And by staying tuned, you'll be able to catch up on all of the action in our other series. We do, of course, have the League of Champions, the GT4 Sprint, still ongoing. The second round of the championship at Monza is coming up, and I believe, Dave, you'll be in the commentary box with Jack Oliphant for that one, and talk us through what you'll be expecting in there.
Yeah, definitely. So tomorrow night from 7:15 on the same platforms, YouTube and Facebook, the first round with ballast for these cars. Shanghai was super interesting. The cars slightly different and stronger in different areas of the track. So we go to Monza. A lot of people think it's all about straights and a few corners, but as soon as you add ballast in it, well, amongst the championship contenders, things are really mixed up, and cars where you wouldn't necessarily expect them to be are there on lap time. So if you want to find out what's going to happen tomorrow night, make sure you tune in and see some of these championship contenders really struggle to get the most out of the cars.
Absolutely. So we've got all that to look forward to, and more, of course, on VRRC. So if you haven't already, make sure you give the stream a like, give our channel a subscribe, and stay tuned for all of the action coming up over the next few weeks. But from me and from Dave, it's goodbye, take care, and stay safe.
Between the the tills up.
The inside of coats.
Marcus gets too heavily involved.
And that's Whitehead and Coates.